For many people today, the phrase seven wonders of the world often brings to mind famous landmarks that still exist, like the ancient city of Petra in Jordan, the shimmering ribbons of the Northern Lights, or the Great Wall of China snaking endlessly across mountains. These are the kinds of marvels celebrated on modern lists of wonders. But if we turn the clock back more than 2,000 years, the ancient Greeks would have imagined a very different list. Back then, the Seven Wonders referred to a collection of monumental works scattered across the Mediterranean and the Near East, architectural and artistic achievements considered the pinnacle of human skill in their time. Today, we know them as the Seven Wonders of the ancient world. Tragically, with the exception of the Great Pyramid of Giza, which still stands proud in the Egyptian desert, the other six have vanished, surviving only in historical records and a handful of scattered ruins. The goal of this journey is to uncover the story of each wonder, how it was built, what it meant to the civilizations that created it, and why it has endured as an icon in humanity's imagination. We'll also explore the origins of the Seven Wonders concept itself, an idea born in the age of ancient Greece and passed down through the writings of famous historians like Herodotus, the father of history, and Diodorus Siculus, who preserved invaluable details about the ancient world. In the 4th century BC, the conquests of Alexander the Great extended Greek influence across much of the Middle East and North Africa. This didn't just create a vast empire, it opened the way for Greek merchants, scholars, and travelers to encounter distant lands like Egypt, Persia, and Babylon. Out of this cultural exchange and these far-reaching journeys, the first lists of wonders began to emerge. Interestingly, there was no single universally agreed-upon list in the beginning. Much like modern-day travel guides that vary from author to author, ancient scholars compiled their own versions, each with slight differences. Yet the number 7 was adopted early on, large enough to include the most remarkable works, but small enough to be memorable. Over time, certain monuments appeared on nearly every list, forming the core of what would later become the classic version of the Seven Wonders. It wasn't until the Renaissance, when Europe revived its fascination with the legacy of the ancient world, that the Seven Wonders of the ancient world took on the familiar form we know today. Ironically, by then, 6 of the 7 had already disappeared, leaving only the Great Pyramid of Giza standing firm amid the golden sands. That final enduring list includes the Great Pyramid of Giza, the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, the Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, the Statue of Zeus at Olympia, the Mausoleum of Halicarnassus, the Colossus of Rhodes, and the Lighthouse of Alexandria. 7 magnificent symbols of a lost world. Number 1. The Great Pyramid of Giza, Egypt. Rising from the vast expanse of desert west of the Nile River, the Great Pyramid of Giza stands like a man-made mountain, defying time for more than 4,000 years. Built around 2500 BC during the reign of Pharaoh Khufu, known to the Greeks as Cheops, it is the oldest of the 7 wonders of the ancient world, and the only one still standing today. When it was first completed, the Great Pyramid soared to a height of about 147 meters, 482 feet, making it the tallest man-made structure on Earth, a record it held for nearly 3,800 years. Today, erosion and the loss of its outer casing stones have reduced its height to roughly 138 meters, about 453 feet. Its extraordinary durability comes from its solid pyramid shape and astonishingly precise construction. Originally, its surface was covered in gleaming white limestone blocks, polished to reflect the sun's rays, causing the pyramid to shine brilliantly across the desert. At its very peak sat a capstone, either gilded or made of electrum, a natural alloy of gold and silver that could be seen from miles away, serving as a dazzling symbol of the pharaoh's power. Inside, a network of corridors and burial chambers was carefully arranged, with the king's chamber serving as the final resting place of Pharaoh Khufu. Surrounding the Great Pyramid are 2 smaller pyramids, one built for his son, Pharaoh Khafra, who is also believed to have commissioned the massive Great Sphinx, and another for his grandson, Pharaoh Menkaure. Contrary to popular images in modern culture, the pyramid was not built by slaves. Archaeological evidence shows that it was constructed by a skilled, well-fed, and paid labor force. These were craftsmen, engineers, and artisans drawn from across Egypt, working in rotating crews over many years to complete a project of national significance. Exactly how the ancient Egyptians raised multi-ton blocks to such heights remains one of history's great mysteries. The most widely accepted theory suggests a massive ramp system, possibly spiraling around the pyramid or combining multiple ramp types, was used to haul the stones into place. Other ideas propose the use of levers, wooden scaffolding, or counterweight systems, but no definitive evidence has confirmed any single method. Thousands of years later, the Great Pyramid of Giza continues to spark curiosity and inspire awe, both for its sheer scale and for the ingenuity of the civilization that built it, remaining an endless source of fascination for archaeologists and history enthusiasts alike. Number 2. The Hanging Gardens of Babylon, Iraq. The wonder that may never have existed. Among the 7 wonders of the ancient world, none captures the imagination quite like the Hanging Gardens of Babylon. People envision a lush paradise rising high above the heart of a scorching Mesopotamian city, tier upon tier of stone terraces overflowing with greenery, with water trickling through the blazing sunlight. Yet what makes this wonder so intriguing is not only its legendary beauty, but also the lingering question: did it ever truly exist? According to ancient accounts, the gardens were said to have been built around 600 BC during the reign of King Nebuchadnezzar II, one of the most powerful rulers of the Neo-Babylonian Empire. Legend has it that the king created the gardens as a gift for his queen, Amytis of Media. Born in the cooler, verdant mountains to the north, Amytis often longed for the rolling hills and rich vegetation of her homeland. To ease her homesickness, the king is said to have recreated an entire landscape of greenery in the capital city, transforming it into a living symbol of both love and imperial might. Ancient descriptions speak of an immense terraced structure, resembling a green pyramid draped in trees and flowering plants. On each level, the Babylonians cultivated rare trees, fragrant blooms, and fruit-bearing plants. An advanced irrigation system, believed to have drawn water from the Euphrates River all the way to the highest planters, kept the gardens flourishing year-round. Some theories suggest that this feat might have involved early versions of water-lifting technology, such as the water wheel or even the Archimedes screw, developed far earlier than historians once believed. But the story of the Hanging Gardens is riddled with mysteries. Not a single surviving Babylonian text mentions them. A puzzling omission if such a monumental work truly existed. Everything we know today comes from second-hand Greek sources, such as Herodotus, Strabo, and Diodorus Siculus, and notably, none of them had ever visited Babylon to see the gardens themselves. Some modern historians believe the gardens may actually be the result of mistaken identity, confused over centuries with another famous royal garden located in Nineveh, the capital of the Assyrian Empire, hundreds of miles to the north. At Nineveh, archaeologists have uncovered clear evidence of sophisticated terraced gardens and advanced water channels. It's entirely possible that generations of retelling blurred the lines between the two cities, leading Greek writers to place the wonder in Babylon instead. If the Hanging Gardens truly did stand in Babylon, scholars estimate they were destroyed or fell into ruin sometime around the 1st century AD, perhaps due to war, flooding, or simple neglect. But if they were in Nineveh all along, pinpointing their disappearance becomes far more difficult, as that city endured multiple conquests and shifts in power throughout its history. Number 3. The Temple of Artemis at Ephesus, Turkey. On the fertile coastline of ancient Asia Minor, the port city of Ephesus once thrived as a major commercial, cultural, and religious center of the Greek world. Here, the people worshipped Artemis, the goddess of the hunt, protector of nature, and guardian of chastity in Greek mythology. But in Ephesus, her image took on a distinctly local character. She was revered as a great mother goddess, closely tied to fertility, the bounty of the harvest, and the prosperity of the community. This deep devotion inspired the creation of a temple of unprecedented grandeur, which over the centuries would be rebuilt 3 times. The first version of the temple was constructed before the Ionian migration, around 1000 BC. At that time, it was likely a modest shrine built of wood and rough stone, meant simply to honor the city's protective goddess. But the harsh realities of nature spared it little time. A great flood swept away most of the structure, leaving only faint traces in the memory of the local people. Not long after, the citizens of Ephesus built a second version, this time on a far grander scale and with sturdier materials. The new temple became a true source of civic pride. But in 356 BC, disaster struck. A man driven by a strange ambition set fire to the temple, destroying it completely, solely so that his name would be remembered in history. The people of Ephesus were so outraged that they decreed his name should never again be spoken. Still, several Greek historians, including Theopompus and Strabo, recorded it for posterity. In a twist of irony, the fire occurred on the very night Alexander the Great was born. A coincidence later spun into legend, with writers claiming the goddess was too preoccupied with the birth of a great hero to protect her temple. Following the fire, the Ephesians embarked on a third construction. This final version would secure the Temple of Artemis a place among the 7 wonders of the ancient world. More magnificent than any other Greek temple, it measured 137 meters, 450 feet, in length, nearly 70 meters, 230 feet, in width, and about 18 meters, 60 feet, in height. Surrounding the structure were hundreds of towering marble columns, each intricately carved, creating an awe-inspiring scene that ancient poets such as Antipater of Sidon hailed as surpassing all other wonders. Inside stood a unique representation of Artemis, unlike the familiar Greek form. Here she was depicted with multiple rows of rounded shapes on her chest, symbolic of abundance and fertility. Yet the temple's glory would not last forever. In the early 3rd century AD, Gothic warriors from the north swept into Asia Minor, devastating Ephesus and leaving the temple badly damaged. Though repairs were attempted, it never regained its former splendor. By the late 4th century, with Christianity established as the state religion of the Roman Empire and pagan temples condemned as relics of the old faith, the Temple of Artemis was completely destroyed. Some legends attribute its demolition to St. John, though historical evidence does not support this claim. Once razed, the site gradually faded from memory. It was not until 1869 that British archaeologist John Turtle Wood identified and excavated its foundations along with surviving fragments. Today, only a few reconstructed columns rise to mark the spot where the wonder once stood, but its story remains as captivating as ever. Number 4. The Statue of Zeus at Olympia, Greece. In the lush green plains of the Peloponnese, Olympia once stood as the most important religious center dedicated to Zeus, the supreme ruler of the gods in Greek mythology. It was here that the ancient Olympic Games were born, held every 4 years to honor Zeus and to bring together athletes from across the Greek city-states. At the heart of Olympia's sanctuary stood a masterpiece of art and devotion, the colossal statue of Zeus, a wonder that embodied both deep religious reverence and the pinnacle of ancient Greek sculpture. The statue was completed in the 5th century BC by Phidias, the legendary sculptor and architect who also created the famed Athena Parthenos in the Acropolis of Athens. Phidias employed the chryselephantine technique, combining gold and ivory over a wooden framework, to craft a figure that was both resplendent and lifelike. Zeus was depicted seated on a grand throne, towering over 12 meters, 40 feet high, nearly brushing the temple's ceiling. His face radiated calm majesty, while his soft curls of hair and beard conveyed a presence both benevolent and commanding. The throne of Zeus was itself a separate work of art. Made of precious wood, it was adorned with gemstones, gold, ivory, and intricate carvings depicting mythological scenes. In his left hand, Zeus held an elaborately carved scepter topped with the figure of an eagle, the enduring symbol of supreme power. In his right hand, he raised a statue of the goddess Nike, the embodiment of victory, as if to bless the champions of the Olympic Games. The sheer size of the statue sparked fascination among contemporaries. Ancient writers such as Strabo remarked that it seemed too large for the temple that housed it. A famous anecdote claimed that if Zeus were to rise from his throne, his head would break through the temple's roof. The fate of the statue remains one of history's enduring mysteries. By the late 4th century AD, when Roman Emperor Theodosius I outlawed pagan festivals and ordered the closure of temples, Olympia lost its religious significance, and the statue vanished from regular historical accounts. One theory suggests it was destroyed when the temple at Olympia was consumed by fire about a century later. Another proposes that the statue was dismantled and transported to Constantinople, modern-day Istanbul, for display, only to meet a tragic end when a great fire swept through the city in the 5th or 6th century. Number 5. The Mausoleum of Mausolus at Halicarnassus, Turkey. On the southwestern coast of ancient Asia Minor stood the city of Halicarnassus, a wealthy seat of power where Greek culture blended seamlessly with the local traditions of Korea. In the 4th century BC, it served as the capital of the Carian kingdom, ruled by King Mausolus, a shrewd political leader and a passionate patron of architecture and urban design. When he died in 353 BC, his wife and sister, Queen Artemisia II, following the royal custom of dynastic marriage, resolved to build an unprecedented monument to honor his memory. Construction began around 351 BC and continued for several years, bringing together some of the most celebrated architects and sculptors of the Greek world. The result was a structure about 45 meters, 148 feet, high, rising from a marble foundation and blending architectural influences from Greece, Egypt, and Anatolia. The mausoleum was composed of 3 main sections: a solid rectangular base, a central tier surrounded by marble columns enclosing the burial chamber, and a stepped pyramid roof crowned by a statue of a 4-horse chariot carrying the king and queen. What set the mausoleum apart was not only its monumental scale, but also its exquisite artistry. More than 400 statues and reliefs were carved by master sculptors such as Scopas, Bryaxis, Timotheus, and Leocharis. The friezes depicted scenes from Greek mythology, battles fought by the Carian people, and vivid portrayals of daily life, all designed to celebrate the life and legacy of Mausolus. The fusion of massive architectural form and intricate sculpture made the mausoleum a lasting emblem of power, wealth, and Artemisia's unwavering devotion to her husband. One detail that has long intrigued historians is the nature of the relationship between Mausolus and Artemisia. Though they were siblings, such marriages were not uncommon among royalty in the region, and many scholars believe their union was more a political alliance than a romantic bond. Still, the grandeur and care invested in the mausoleum led many to believe that Artemisia held deep personal affection for Mausolus. According to one enduring anecdote, she had his ashes ground to a fine powder and mixed with wine, drinking it as a symbolic act of becoming one with him. The mausoleum of Mausolus stood intact for centuries, admired by the Romans and regarded as a symbol of permanence. But time and nature eventually claimed it. A series of powerful earthquakes during the Middle Ages brought the structure down, and by 1402, when the Knights Hospitaller captured Halicarnassus, the once great wonder lay in ruins. Much of its marble and surviving sculpture was repurposed by the Knights to build the Castle of Bodrum, a fortress that still stands today. Number 6. The Colossus of Rhodes, Greece. Positioned strategically between the Aegean and the Mediterranean seas, the island of Rhodes had long been one of the most important maritime hubs of the ancient Greek world. In the 3rd century BC, its people were known not only for their skill in trade and seafaring, but also for their resilience. After defeating the invading forces of Demetrius Poliorcetes, a powerful general in the turbulent years following the death of Alexander the Great, the citizens of Rhodes chose to commemorate their victory with something the world had never seen before: a colossal statue honoring Helios, the sun god and protector of the island. Construction began around 292 BC and was completed about 280 BC under the direction of the sculptor Charis of Lindos. The Colossus was cast in bronze, standing roughly 33 meters, 108 feet, tall, the height of a modern 10-story building, set atop a sturdy stone base. Much of the bronze is believed to have been taken from the weapons and siege engines left behind by Demetrius's defeated army, transforming instruments of war into a symbol of peace and national pride. Structurally, the Colossus was a marvel of ancient engineering. Beneath its bronze skin lay an iron framework and massive stone blocks serving as counterweights, allowing the statue to withstand the strong sea winds. Helios was depicted in a commanding stance, crowned with radiant sun rays, his gaze turned toward the open sea as if watching over every vessel entering and leaving the harbor of Rhodes. Contrary to the romanticized Renaissance-era image, the statue did not straddle the harbor entrance with legs apart. It most likely stood firmly on a massive platform near the Mandrake harbor. The Colossus stood for only 56 short years. In 226 BC, a powerful earthquake struck, breaking the statue at the knees and toppling it. Following the prophecy of an oracle, the people of Rhodes saw this as a divine sign and refused to rebuild it. Instead, the fallen statue was left in place, a silent testament to the scale and skill of ancient craftsmanship. Even in ruin, the Colossus drew travelers from across the known world. Ancient historians wrote of visitors who came to marvel at the enormous fragments, curved sheets of bronze, stone foundation blocks weighing many tons, and pieces of the statue's hands, toes, and armor, each far larger than life-size. Over the centuries, the bronze remnants were gradually scavenged by invading forces, particularly after Arab forces captured Rhodes in the 7th century. By then, nothing remained but memories and legends. Yet the image of the Colossus transcended its island home, becoming part of Western cultural mythology. More than 2 millennia later, the spirit of the Colossus found a new form. When the United States celebrated its centennial of independence, France presented the Statue of Liberty as a symbol of freedom and friendship. Its design drew clear inspiration from the Colossus of Rhodes, a towering figure standing resolute, arm raised high to hold a beacon of light for all who seek the shores of hope. Number 7. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, Egypt. At the height of Alexandria's power, when it was one of the busiest and most prosperous cities in the Mediterranean, bustling trade had turned it into the maritime gateway not only for Egypt but for much of the Greco-Roman world. Yet its strategic location came with hidden dangers. Offshore reefs and strong currents made entering and leaving the harbor a perilous task, especially at night or in heavy fog. To guide ships safely to port and to showcase the city's grandeur, King Ptolemy II Philadelphus commissioned a structure unlike anything the world had seen before. The Lighthouse of Alexandria, built on the island of Pharos and completed around 280 BC. This was not only the first true lighthouse in history but also a marvel of ancient engineering. Standing an estimated 100 meters, 330 feet, tall, it ranked among the tallest man-made structures in the world for centuries. Its design consisted of 3 tiers: a sturdy square base, a middle section in the shape of an octagon, and a cylindrical tower at the top. At its summit burned a massive open flame, its light amplified and projected far out to sea by a polished metal mirror, visible from dozens of kilometers offshore. By day, the tower reflected the brilliance of the sun. By night, the fire and mirror combined to send a blazing beam across the dark waters, guiding sailors safely to shore. The Pharos lighthouse was more than a beacon, it was a symbol. As ships approached land, they could see it from afar, a welcoming sign and a testament to the wealth and sophistication of Alexandria. Its reputation quickly earned it a place among the 7 wonders of the ancient world, celebrated not only for its utility but also for its beauty and sheer scale. Like many great monuments of antiquity, however, the Lighthouse of Alexandria could not withstand the forces of nature forever. For nearly 1,600 years it endured, but 3 massive earthquakes delivered fatal blows. The first, in 956 AD, severely damaged its upper sections. The second, in 1303, struck a weakened structure. The third, in 1323, caused most of the tower to collapse, leaving little more than its base. For centuries afterward, the ruins of the lighthouse still marked the harbor, a reminder of Alexandria's golden age. In 1480, Sultan Qaitbay of Mamluk Egypt ordered the remaining stone to be reused in the construction of a military fortress on the very same site. The citadel of Qaitbay still stands today, a defensive stronghold and the direct heir to the ancient pharaohs. Today, of the 7 legendary wonders once celebrated by the ancient world, only the Great Pyramid of Giza still rises from the sands of Egypt. The other 6, from the Hanging Gardens of Babylon to the Lighthouse of Alexandria, have vanished under the forces of nature, war, and time. Yet their disappearance does not mean they have been forgotten. In fact, the allure of the 7 wonders of the ancient world may lie in the very gaps they leave behind. They are the missing pieces of history's grand puzzle, urging us to imagine, to question, and to dream. If you could turn back time and witness just one of these wonders in the full glory of its prime, which one would you choose?